For almost 25 years, James Lewis Jr. has served the constituents of the city of Charleston's District 3, which covers the central part of the peninsula and portions of West Ashley. But after almost 25 years, James Lewis is stepping down after being defeated by a newcomer. I sit down exclusively with James Lewis for the special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and download my free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview tomorrow on iHeartRadio. Councilman James Lewis Jr., welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Quintin. It's good to talk to you again.
I appreciate it greatly, and I thank you for granting me a chance to talk with you because obviously this is going to be your last time as a Charleston City Councilman.
I'll be out of office on the 13th.
Who is James Lewis Jr. now?
James Lewis Jr. is a child of God, a family man, and a community-minded person.
A community-minded person. Who's going to be James Lewis once you leave Charleston City Council?
I still will be James Lewis. I still be a family man, a Christian man, and I still will be working in the community. I will never change as long as God gives me the health and strength to do things in the community.
But what changed when it came to this election, Lou? I should say, Councilman.
I think we run a very good election. We had a good campaign going on. A lot of people probably didn't come back from what we could figure out to vote in the last election. But with all the money spent and the negative things that were saying about me, my opponent, as you know, he was part of that PAC. And that PAC put out a lot of money, and they were on every website probably is available in this city, this state, of this country. So it's a lot that went on that we weren't able to get a hold of.
I know people hate going backwards, but what exactly did they say negative about you that you think they've affected your election outcome?
Well, I think the biggest negative thing from my opponent himself, saying that people told him I didn't return phone calls. I had a thing that said, if it's good enough for you to call me, I will call you back. I try to return all my calls within 2-3 hours, no less than a 24-hour period. I've done it, and I'm still doing it, and it's something that I've done for the last 24 years. 24 years? But what did you do wrong? I don't think we did nothing wrong. We try to serve the people. I think some of the things stance that we took on City Council to represent the citizens, not only of District 3, but of the city, a lot of people didn't like, especially at PAC. They talk about flooding and put out negative stuff that I didn't care about flooding, but I voted for every penny to go in to solve flooding in the city. From the Freshman Crosstown, Freshman Street Basin, Calhoun Street Basin, got money in the budget to do Hughie and King Street. I voted for all projects dealing with flooding. So I don't know where they get that negative stuff about.
And I know in my last interview with you for Quintin's Close-Ups, I believe maybe a month ago, you basically said, hey, this particular project at King and Hughie will be picking up its legs, if you will, in early 2020.
Within the next couple of months, they should be working on that project. The budget has been approved, everything's been approved, the contractor has been hired. It's just a matter of them getting to work.
And who are the contractors?
They are contractors who work for the city. It does drainage work for the city. Right now in my mind, just talking with you.
Oh, no worries.
It just didn't pop up.
Oh, no worries. Now, altogether, how much will this project cost for the average taxpayer in District 3?
Well, when we vote on projects, we just don't vote on it and figure out how much it would cost for District 3. But this project is right around $40 million.
$40 million. Let me get back to the race. I want to go back to what Michaela Porter of the Post-Inquiry wrote just a couple of weeks ago, I believe right after the runoff. And in the particular article for the Post-Inquiry, she writes this, quote, in the District 3 runoff, challenger Jason Sakran bested Lewis to the Tuesday by a 51-49 margin by 25 votes of more than 1,900 casts according to unofficial results. 51-49 tells you what, Councilman Lewis?
That we ran a good race. Again, there was a lot of negative things said about me. There was a lot of stuff going on at Rivers Middle that I know of, Joseph Floyd Manor, but we just didn't have enough evidence to contest this election. But there was a lot of irregularities going on at the polls.
When you talk about those irregularities, what are those exactly?
Well, when you get candidates in the poll inside the precincts asking people to vote for them, that's illegal. A certain distance in the polls outside, that's against the law. And I reported a couple of them to the Election Commission during the last election before the runoff, but they said that he had the right to do it, which we know that he was a little closer to the polls than he needed to. And I got reports from people that he was in the polls at Joseph Floyd Manor. I approached him at Rivers Middle, Math and Science, but he was in Joseph Floyd Manor. They got reports about that from people in the precincts who were running the precincts, but they called and complained, but nothing was done.
As we sit here right now, Mr. Lewis, do you have confidence in the Charleston County Election Commission?
I said the Charleston Election Commission, Charleston County Election Commission, I think they have done a good job with the people that they have, but this election could have been handled better with the complaints. As of, I guess around 8:30 or 9 o'clock that night when the final results came in, we was told that they had to count from Joseph Floyd Manor, but my understanding the Joseph Floyd Manor tapes were returning to maybe 2 or 3 hours after the election was announced that he was the winner. So where was the tapes that from the election? What took them so long to bring it after the polls closed?
How many tapes are you talking about coming from Joseph Floyd Manor?
Well, they just said they had the counts, but they didn't have the tapes. I don't know how many precincts. I think there's about 2 or 3 precincts for Joseph Floyd Manor.
And how many counts were coming from there?
Well, before they got that,
okay,
and they supposed to have had the numbers, when they claimed they got it, the numbers changed, and that's why I lost by 24 votes.
24 votes.
But I suppose I've been the winner before they made that final announcement, somewhere around 12 o'clock.
And a lot of people, from my understanding, were telling me that you were actually running consistently good as far as being the front runner in the runoff election on that night.
Oh, yes.
What exactly happened?
Well, the Election Commission will have to tell you that. The numbers that we look at, the numbers that they had placed around the walls, the numbers that were up on the screen, around 9 or 10 o'clock before we left the Election Commission, we were the winners. An hour or so after we left, that's when we lost.
When you lost. You talk about, obviously, if you had the opportunity to contest it, what exactly would you have done?
I'm not an attorney to tell you what I would do to contest the election, but I can tell you there were several attorneys that wanted to contest it, but we just didn't have the evidence. The people who had some complaints just weren't there at when they did the final count to certify the election. So we just we couldn't get the people to the polls.
Get to the polls.
I mean, not to the polls, but to the pre-election commission to complain.
And obviously, I will get Jason Sakran's side of the story, Councilman-elect Sakran, when I sit down with him for Quintin's close-up soon to get his side of the story. But you said you ran a good campaign. What exactly did you communicate within that good campaign in your mind?
I communicate to the people that we and especially the last 4 or 5 years, and because the biggest issue in this city was traffic and flooding. And again, I've never voted against flooding. They had negative flyers and stuff out, but I don't care about flooding. I voted against flooding. I've never voted against putting money into drainage projects in the city since I've been sitting on city council. I was the one fighting to try to get UG Street done for the last 15 years, and finally got some money in the budget to do that.
And how much money was in there when you voted for it?
Well, it came out of the overall drainage fund budget.
And what
so
was
it wasn't
that?
a particular amount of money.
Well, how much money was that?
When you go in the drainage fund each year, there's a certain amount of money into the drainage fund. So you never know exactly how much in the drainage fund. That's a question everybody wanted to know for a while, how much in the drainage fund, and I don't think we've ever gotten that answer in the last 6 months how much money was left in the drainage fund.
Now, how many drainage projects do you want completed next in this District 3?
Well, I'd like to see them solve as much drainage problem as they can in the city. Right now, they're starting this month looking at Simmons and Rutledge Avenue.
Sure.
Because it floods real bad up there.
Right.
They're looking at streets in Greater St. Luke Church is on.
Yeah.
Gordon Street.
Right.
Floods real bad.
Sure.
Actually, from Simmons Street all the way back to Grove Street,
Right.
We are looking at drainage problems right there. New stormwater Matt is looking at all that stuff now. So we've been working on drainage. The other lie that they had out that I voted against the seawall. Well, the seawall would have been killed. Project would have been killed when we had a meeting on Daniel Island, and the council members were going to vote against it to kill it if it did include putting some money from the infrastructure bank to finish the Freshman Crosstown Basin. Well, I was the one to ask them to defer that and go back to the drawing board and see if they could have added it in the budget, and that's why they were talking about the seawall and the Freshman Crosstown drainage basin. Other than that, they would have never gotten a letter out to vote it to put that money down there in the seawall. We've never voted against money for the seawall.
Wait a minute. Isn't that bait and switch with the whole low battery and the whole...
The seawall is on a low battery. That's what I'm talking about. We've always supported the low battery. Every year there's money going into the budget for the low battery. When there's not money for other projects in the city, the low battery gets money every year.
From the time that you all were voting against this to now, and obviously money was going towards the battery, how much is all that together?
Well, not voting against it. The question is, the mayor wanted to send a letter to the infrastructure bank to ask them to help with the seawall, okay? And several council members said, well, if we're going to do that, why don't we ask them for some, because we were somewhere around a $30 million shortfall on the Freshman Crosstown project. Let's ask them for some money for all that. And that's where the debate came in, and they didn't want to do it. And that gave people the idea that we didn't want to vote for money for the seawall, but it wasn't a seawall. We were trying to tie the two projects together, and they didn't want to tie it together. So when they start saying all this negative stuff, that's one of the negativity that they put out there, that I didn't want to support the seawall. But if I didn't actually defer that at the meeting that we had on Daniel Island, the seawall project, the money's for that, the letter was never been sent to the infrastructure place because city council was going to vote it down.
Okay, how much money was set aside for the Fishburne project prior to them sending the letter to the state infrastructure transportation?
Well, that's the money that we voted on years ago, and we had a $30 million shortfall.
Sure, okay.
And they were trying to make up some of that money because you had state money,
right? You
had city money, and you had federal monies, all tied together.
All tied together.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, I'm assuming that the State Infrastructure Transportation Bank sent you all money for the Fishburne project.
Oh yes, they put a lot of money into it.
Now, how much did that cut down on the shortfall? How much did that cut in half?
Well, we didn't get any more money from them for the shortfall. Okay. That's what we were trying to get. But I don't think we got a letter back from them whether they're going to approve that or the money for the seawall yet.
Seawall, yeah.
So it's still up in the air.
Which one would they approve first?
Well, the infrastructure bank, you never know what they're going to
do. Okay. Let me get back to you again with a lot of questions there. But obviously in the article that Michaela Porter wrote for the Postal Courier, she says this, quote, "The district covers parts of central Peninsula Charleston and a portion of West Ashley." Let me ask you this, Mr. Lewis. What part of this district, District 3, did not receive your message, did not want to hear your message?
I think if you look at the votes, I think everybody heard. Everybody heard. Not a lot of people voted for me, and I think those that voted for me and those that didn't vote for me, I still think them because they wanted someone else. But I think the citizens in District 3 heard my message. West Ashley, there was articles sent out about me with West Ashley, but I don't do nothing for West Ashley. Some people in West Ashley have never heard about me, have never seen me. We put a lot of money into West Ashley, trying to solve the drainage problem over there. As you know, last year was the first time we hired a drainage crew,
Right.
just to work definitely on drainage and on ditches, West Ashley. So, this negative stuff in some people's mind, I guess, they just felt it. But if you look at the figures, they carry most of West Ashley, just about all of them.
Wow.
So,
Now, you talk about those drainage projects in West Ashley in your district. What exactly do you hope that the city will do next in those areas?
Well, government moves slow.
Okay.
We have a couple of projects over there that's been working on for the last couple of years. And hopefully they'll get it. Hopefully done sometime this year.
Next year. What exactly are those projects that you're talking about?
Well, along Playground Road, along, you can't remember, I just didn't have all the stuff
I'm sorry.
in my head today. But there in the Sherwood Forest neighborhood, the several neighborhoods over there. I just don't want to call.
Sure.
I don't like to just name different neighborhoods because it's a wide overall big project.
Let me get back to your election again. I'm going to ask you a very controversial question, but was gentrification a problem for you as far as your election? Was housing a part of your problem? What was it?
Gentrification is always a problem because, this district, when I got elected, this district was about 65% African American.
Sure.
And now this district is about, not only this district, this city is about 25% more black. So the majority is white. So it has changed. As far as housing, in the last 3 to 4 years, we have spent more money on affordable housing and home ownership initiatives than we have done in the last probably 10, 15 years, 20 years.
20 years.
So we're putting a lot of money into housing. There's going to be a lot of housing built, and it was all put out in my flyers, so it couldn't have been a mission.
But then, you just mentioned this. Obviously, it was 65% of African Americans when you first were elected to City Council in 1995. Now that there's mostly, a mixture of people here in this town, was that your downfall? That people don't know who you are?
It could have been a lot of new people has moved in. Yeah, there's a possibility. Yes.
Now, I know a lot of people, couldn't get to the polls in some areas of your district. How do you hope the voting process will change in the next 4 years or even before then when people go out and vote next time?
Well, I don't think it's the fact that people get into the polls. When you got a runoff and you got two weeks,
Yeah.
and people go vote absentee ballots, especially the elderly, that's not enough turnaround time for them to get those ballots and get it back. And that's what hurt me also in one of my precincts, several of my precincts, West Ashley, because the elderly didn't get the word out quick enough that it was going to be a runoff, and they didn't get those ballots, get all of those ballots and get it back in. So that hurt me a whole lot.
I know the battery just ran out, unfortunately, but what do you want your legacy on City Council to be described as?
As a person that cares about the people in the city, not only District 3, but the people in the city, and affordable housing, and our working people, the people that's working in the city, sanitation, what we call our low-level employees,
Right.
making sure that they get decent wages where they could be able to live where they work.
And I've been talking to a lot of people recently, and now that you're leaving office, some people are concerned about the future of the King Street Citadel bus. Where do we go from here with that? Where's that route going to go?
I'm hoping to be reappointed to the Carter Board. You don't have to be a city council person to be on the Carter Board, because Ed Astor from North Charleston, he's representing North Charleston on the board. I've asked the mayor about that, and he said that's fine. We just have to get the approval, I guess, from Carter before I can be on the board. So I will serve on that board, and I will continue to serve on the Redevelopment Preservation Commission with Ms. Johnson, who is our housing director.
Yeah, Gianna Shaw Johnson. What is your message to Councilman-elect Jason Sakran?
I wish him the best. I hope he can handle this district. It's a big challenge, And with what he got on his plate now, I think his plate's going to be overflowed, but I hope he can handle it.
Councilman James Lewis Jr., thank you so much for your time here on Quintin's Close-Ups over the past, I've been doing interviews for the past 7 years. You've been on City Council for 25 years, and we thank you for your service. 24, excuse me. And thank you for allowing me to interview you for all these 4 years that, I've interviewed you for Quintin's Close-Ups.
Well, thank you, Quintin, and I thank the citizens of this city who saw fit to go to the polls for during the last 24 years, the last 6 elections, to vote for me. And I appreciate the service that I've been able to give to the city. And again, like I said, I will continue to volunteer to do things in the city to continue to make it one of the best cities for people to live.
Thank you.